Welcome to this week's edition of the Casual Shooters Podcast, your premier podcast for the casual shooter. This week's guest has been on before, but now there are a lot of folks using his ELO rating software program. I've been using the USPSA analyst portion of it to calculate points races at the local matches around me. He was recently fifth at Handgun Nationals shooting revolver. Join me in welcoming to the show, Jay Slater. How you doing, Jay?
I'm doing
Awesome.
Great. It's good to be back, Dave.
It's good having you back. This is exciting.
Yeah. No, I've never been on a podcast twice before, except for the one I had briefly. But
okay. I hope so. Oh, all right. So I was gonna start somewhere else, but I'm gonna ask you about that. What's this story about a podcast? Briefly.
So back in 2016 or 2017, for right after I got married, and for 5 or 6 years after that, 4 or 5, I guess, I lived in the same apartment complex as a college friend of mine, and he and I shared an interest in kind of geopolitics and military equipment and so forth. So we would talk about that for an hour a month or so, and we did that actually for about 2 years.
So would you have been talking about recent events in Israel?
Oh, almost certainly, yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
You learn a lot talking to people.
It's true for sure. He was always much more up to the minute on the reading and the research than I was. We co-wrote a blog too for a while, kind of on the same topic. And whenever it came down to like the real nitty gritty about, say, the history of tanks or comparative evaluations of small arms overseas, like that was his bag.
His forte, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. That's pretty cool, though. Interesting learning a different side of you. I've only known you as the revolver software guy.
These days, that's mostly what I am.
Okay, fair enough then. Yep. All right. So a lot of topics. It's funny because, as I mentioned earlier, I was finishing up some training for work. We have like 6, 7, 8 different mandatory little computer training modules we have to do throughout the year. And I was just getting ready to get on and send you a message when you messaged me about coming on tonight. So that's exciting. Where I want to start, because it's the most recent, literally like you finished it up a day and a half ago, 2 days ago now, it's 48 hours, was Handgun Nationals. Give me your thoughts generally on the match as a whole.
Oh boy, that was a challenge. So people have said it's the hardest match they've shot, and I think I'd probably agree with that on the whole.
Okay,
I'll give the shout out to Keanu Sai and Maryland State that they had the hardest target I shot at this year, which was like a 40-yard mini popper. But in terms of average difficulty, I think this Handgun Nationals is definitely the hardest match I've ever shot.
Wow. So from beginning to end, it was not easy.
Yeah, there were, let's see, stages that had, I don't know if there were a couple of those short courses like doubled up on some of the back bays.
Right.
But beyond those, I think pretty much everything had a target at least, 15 or 20 yards.
Okay.
On Instagram, Michaela Hill just did.
I was going to ask some
numbers.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there were of 450 shots, there were about 75 targets. So 150 shots, about a third of the match, closer than 12 yards. And by her numbers, almost all of those were partials. There were maybe 15 close open targets in the entire match.
Yeah, I'm trying. Here we go. Yeah, you're right. Here it is. So she's on Instagram at Hill of a Shooter. I've had her on. But yeah, they had over 10 targets were over 30 yards. They had 50 targets over 20 yards, 80 partials, 10 movers, 40 mini poppers, no full-size poppers, 75 targets between 15 and 20, and 75 inside of 12. but only 15. So 20% of those 75 were open targets. All the rest were partials or something of that nature.
Yeah,
Or, that's
that's
those
rough.
are some crazy numbers.
Yeah, sadly, so I don't know if she meant that there were only 15 open targets close up in the whole match, or 15 open targets you could shoot on while moving in the whole match. But I could probably believe 15 close open targets just total.
Yeah, and I mean she had of which only 15 were wide open targets that let you move while shooting with little to no risk.
Yeah. So
So,
it could have been like there might have been some close ones on leans that weren't
mm,
really going to be moving targets anyway. But
right.
but either way,
It's a difficult match.
absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah,
those numbers are pretty stark. So
yeah,
it's
and
good for her to do that.
yeah, 100%. Sadly, I had some camera trouble, so I didn't get to record very much of the match. I would have probably gone and done the same thing if I had footage of all the stages. But
I saw that. Now, what cameras were you using that didn't work?
so I have a Run Cam 2. I use as my hat cam, which is like a drone first person video camera. But
Hmm.
among its big advantage is that it's cheap and it's also light.
Okay.
The drawbacks are that it's not waterproof. And
Mm.
the video's not great either, but I don't tend to care about that as much for hat cam stuff. So I think sometime over the past 2 years, I've been using it. Some water's gotten inside, and now the charging port's not totally functional, and the battery's not huge either. So when it gets cold, when it gets cold, you lose a lot of battery life, and you find it turning off, halfway through a stage,
Okay.
which bit of a bummer. And same thing. So my overhead camera is a GoPro knockoff. I think so. You know the Harbor Freight tool strategy, right?
Oh
when you
yeah.
when you're buying something, yeah, when you're buying something you don't know if you're going to use a lot, you buy it from Harbor Freight first, and then when it breaks, you have permission to go and buy a better one. So I think I'm probably going to be spending a couple $100 on cameras this off season.
And it's funny because Nils even posted that when he was warming up, he was practicing difficult shots.
Yeah,
So, I mean, even he realized before the match even started, he's like, this is going to be a difficult match.
yeah, it
Now,
makes me so the bays I have to practice in, the bays I practice in most often, they're about 20 or 25 yards deep, and so that in my mind is typically I'm practicing on far targets. But in this case, like at this match, I'm kind of practicing on like the median difficulty target, shooting at 20 yards.
gotcha.
Yeah, it makes me happy. I walked across the access road and shot some plates at like 40. Then that's that's a good confidence builder to take into the match.
I was going to ask, do you think it helped doing that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If nothing else, to remind myself that I can hit those shots if it comes to it.
Okay. Now the in I don't know if you went to Carry Optics Nationals even just to visit, but they had quite a bit of rain on day one, and then it got better. You guys had cold temperatures, I believe, Saturday. I don't know about
Uh,
Sunday,
sa-
but I know you did
Saturday and Sunday both. Yeah,
Saturday and Sunday both, like 30s for a low.
yeah. So we started shooting at 8 a.m. on Saturday. It was like a little below 30 degrees, like 37 or so. So
Okay.
yeah,
Was Sunday as cold or a couple degrees warmer?
I don't know about Sunday morning since I
Oh, you
got to
shot in
shoot
the
got to
afternoon.
shoot the
Oh,
PM
that's
schedule
right.
there. Yeah.
I forgot I was talking to the Super Squad guy.
Oh yeah. it
There
was
are
it.
benefits.
It's true. It was
Yeah.
only like 40, 48 or so when we started at noon. It got up to like 50 some. There was like a brief period of sun, but I don't know if you saw on the schedule, but because of lower registration numbers at first, they put
Hmm.
the revolver and single stack super squads together. At which point, everyone finished signing up. So we had a squad of 14 for most of the match, which was. I mean, we were a little bit behind time on the last zone, and we caught some rain. I think that nobody else did because we were the last one shooting.
Actually, I noticed that because I was live streaming and everybody was done but you guys, and I was tracking just to see where Garen finished, where you
Yeah,
finished. trying to see where in the world everybody was going to finish out. And you're right, everybody was done.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, we
I mean, I guess about an hour before the match ended, I already knew who the overall winners in each division were. But for some, 2 through 5 were open, or 3 through 6 or 7 were open. So
yeah,
it was tracking that.
yeah, absolutely. I know Revolver, the third and fourth battle just ahead of me, that came down literally to the last stage. As the rain was starting to fall on the guys after me. So like the order, it ended with Rich Wolf and started with Alex Backen. So they went back to back. Uh, Rich, I think, shot 2 misses on that last stage. Um,
Mm,
yeah, in the dark and the rain and the all the conditions
okay.
getting worse all of a sudden. And then
Right.
Backen had a chance there and put a bunch of extra shots. So that was on stage 16. For those of you who were at the match, that's the one where you probably started on the right side. There's a tux, 2 far poppers, and a target you could back out on. Um, so Alex took a couple of extra shots on those far targets and sort of said after the match like he could feel it slipping away as he was taking those makeup shots.
Oh, wow. That's got to suck.
Yeah. Yep.
Man. Okay. Now, there were several people that had there were several people that had footing issues. I know of at least a few people that fell, got injured. Justine posted she injured her knee. I
Mm-hmm.
know there was a DQ due to
Oh
somebody
wow.
losing their footing and falling down. What did you think of the footing?
I the gravel at Cardinal is pretty. It's like fairly large particle size, I guess you'd say, in like the geoengineering sense, and also pretty loose. So it's a little bit like running in very coarse sand sometimes. I know. So I was at Carry Optics Nationals. I had the opportunity to work that match, which was a nice way to get the give
Okay.
back. And there, I noticed like getting started and stopping. I had to take like a little bit of extra time in both directions to stop from overrunning my position. So I had that in my head when I came to this match.
Okay. I,
But yeah,
I
as
know
as I
Drew
recall,
Maruski.
I hear
Go ahead.
I hear I think it was Nick Reynolds on one of this like a stage with a retreat who yeah slipped. There was like a little hump in the gravel and that caught him out.
Wow. Okay. Not a fun. Never. It's never a fun way to go, but that seems like a worse way to
No.
go. Drew Maruski.
Hmm?
We were messaging back and forth, and I had seen that Nick Reynolds had DQ'd. He's the one to let me know that yeah, he fell on the footing. But Drew also said that he was limiting, like he wasn't going 100% on speed because of the footing. Now,
Yeah.
you knowing that from Optics, same thing. Did you throttle it back a little bit then?
Not particularly, I don't think. Not consciously, anyway.
Okay.
That was a topic of conversation during the awards dinner. Apparently, I'm developing a reputation as the full send revolver guy.
I don't care. Good for you. I like it.
Also, the funny thing is that that's not my internal perception at all. So, if me shooting like at the pace of my sights looks like I'm going full send to everyone else, that's super promising.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's like a compliment.
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
with you. And I'm going to get back to who was on your squad. You said you had a huge squad. I'm going to get back to
Yeah.
that in a minute. Um, now we talked about the difficulty briefly, but I'm going to back up a little bit more on that. Now I'm gonna add in one of the other questions I have. So you shot on zone 1 to begin with and ended up on zone 3.
Yes.
Now the interesting part of that was zone 1 was the smallest zone, zone 2 was medium, and then zone 3 was big.
Yeah.
Lots more bullets on day 3, many more points to be earned. What did you think about that? Because I feel like in years past with nationals, there wasn't really anything like that. But I feel like that could also affect your strategy. And if you had a bad day 1, because it was the smallest zone, there, you couldn't lose a whole lot of points. Whereas if you started on zone 3 and had a bad day, oh,
Yeah.
lights out.
No, absolutely. Zone three was definitely where like the keystone of the match, pretty much. I said in one of my analysis posts about this event that putting so many points relative to days 1 and 2 on day three for the super squad guys, that's a recipe for for dramatic shifts in finish order. So I
Yeah.
know I was like Cesar what Chernigoy, I believe. Yeah.
Oh,
He's
is that
like
how you
a
say it? Chernigoy?
Chernigoy, yeah. I'm
Okay.
I'm so I'm guessing based on knowledge of other Eastern European languages, but that would be my guess.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going with it because I have
Yeah.
no idea.
Yeah. So he was sitting I think in fourth or fifth at the end of day two, and he put in like a smoking day three, and ended up he actually beat Elias by 4.5% on day three. Like in zone three,
Wow.
he was the overall single stack winner of zone three, and that brought him all the way up to second. And that's
Wow.
the same thing happened in production to a lesser degree. Like I think Brian Giovannini, he was in sixth to start his sixth at the end of day two, and then jumped up to third by finishing well in zone three.
Okay.
Yeah, so it does. I mean, it makes it exciting to watch from home because there is that potential when the probable winners are finishing on that zone, on the big zone, for there to be
Right.
those big swings in finish order.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm actually I actually created a slide presentation and did a short podcast Saturday night of where everybody was standing and
Oh, nice.
what was still to come for day 3 and that type of thing. So I am trying. Here we go. Yeah, I mean, Caesar wasn't even in the top 5
Yeah,
at the end of day 2. So for him to go from outside of the top 5 to number 2, holy cow.
yeah.
I didn't realize he won day 3 by that much.
Yeah. Well, I think day three
Wow.
too. That was part of the match. We're having 10 in the gun instead of 8, or 10+1 instead of 8+1. That made a really big difference because there were not. I guess the biggest difficulty on that day was the infamous stage 18. But even the other ones, even the stuff where there were closer targets, those broke down I think better in tens than eights.
Okay. Now, why did you say infamous stage 18?
So stage 18, that was the accuracy challenge of the match. There were
Oh,
there were places on other stages where there was difficult shooting. 18 was just entirely difficult shooting. There were 3 close targets, so like 6 close shots and 25 shots at like 20 yards and up, including
okay.
yeah there were mini poppers on a left lean at like 28 yards. There were mini poppers you could take just straight up at it was like 30ish. There were like one of those half IPSC targets at I don't know probably again 25, and an IPSC tux at least 15 or 18.
So a lot of deliberate shooting.
Absolutely, a little bit too much for me. That was a bit of I think a strategy error on my part. Um, there was a revolver plan floating around that was a little bit weird in terms of where you stood and what reloads you made, but it gave you makeups in every position. And I tried the shoot it clean strategy, and I shot it. I shot all the points, most of the points, and I shot the stage mostly clean, just 1 or 2 makeups. But even so, I had to go a whole lot slower to get those hits than the guys on the plan with makeups did.
Oh, wow. Okay. So going back, you would do it the other way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you think that made any difference on your standing, though, at the end of the
Uh,
day?
maybe like a little. So I guess
Oh,
I was what I was 0.5% I think behind Alex Backen for fourth, and I probably could have found 0.5% on there. So it was like what 450 round match times 5, or yes, 2,250. 10% of or 1% of that is 22. Yeah, I probably could have made up some time on there if I'd done it in say 43 seconds instead of 53.
okay. I should have. I thought I had the scores up from Handgun Nationals, but I do not. We don't want that's what we want. Um, yeah, I mean you were 19 points behind, which was only you were less than a percentage point. So 19 points on a
Yeah,
huge stage, probably not too hard to overcome.
yeah. Let's take. I've got the scores up here myself too. So if I give
Okay.
myself, oh, actually, Beck can finish behind me on that. Never mind. So I guess I could have gained
Oh,
some, but I was already ahead of him a little bit. We both shot the same plan, and I think we both had some similar issues there.
okay.
Yeah,
All right. Now, so I want to go back now to the size of your squad. At first, I noticed you even posted a picture that it was just going to be a few of you initially.
yeah. That was way back when the pre-registration
When
codes went out. Yeah,
right now was Michael Poggi and James McGinty both on the squad with you?
at that point, I don't think either of them had signed up.
Okay, but when
Yeah,
you shot over the
Mhm.
weekend, were they both okay?
Yeah.
So was there
So
anybody in the top five that weren't on your squad?
the Revolver Super Squad had 1 through 6, 8, 9, and 10 as
Okay,
like as far as Revolver goes. Yeah,
okay. I can understand Garen not being on there. I mean, he's
yeah,
never shot revolver, so
yeah. I hear he picked up the gun about a week ago. So on the back of that, that's a pretty good performance. I hear he was kind of speed running all of the gun issues that we tend to work out over the course of like a year in one match. So
wow, that's crazy. That you know what though that is a testament to how good of just a shooter the guy is. If he's
yeah,
able
absolutely.
to
Yep,
pick up a revolver that quick and run it as well as he did, that's impressive.
very much so. I think it's like looking at the issues he had and the finishes on stages where it looks like he just shot okay. I think he probably peaks against Pogi about where he peaked in carry optics. It's like he'd be in the 90s if everything goes right for him and the gun works.
Okay. Now, um, I feel like Michael is a slow starter.
He can be. He has like another gear that he will go into when the situation demands. So it's
Well,
frequently closer on day one than it is on other days.
yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Even during my live streaming, I'm pretty sure it was day 3 when I was live streaming. I don't think it was the little podcast episode I did, but I mentioned that he's like gear 2 on day 1. Then he goes up to gear 4 on day 2. And then by the time day 3 comes around, he's in a gear that most vehicles don't even have. He's
Yeah,
just really hitting he's like that cheetah hitting his stride.
exactly. Yeah,
And I feel like this format this weekend was perfect for Michael Poggi because it started off small, went to medium, and then boom, you hit the big ones. So, and the other thing I picked up on that I talked about on Saturday was he was in a position um, to beat a lot of the other guys in the other divisions, and
oh
I'm
yeah,
I'm talking top 5 guys.
oh wow,
It was very impressive with his use. He could potentially score. He was right there. Who they might have been Scott Brown, and I'm trying to remember who the other
hmm.
one was now. I think it was Max. It was either Max or Elias, one of the two. I mean, they were out there a good ways, but those were the only two. Everybody else he could potentially catch.
Yeah. Well, like if you look at his scores, oh, where is he? There he is. If you look at his scores in single stack, he's like almost in the top 10.
Yeah,
Let
I'm
me,
trying to
I
see
can,
where he finished in the match
uh,
overall.
69% or so. But yeah, if you combine single stack and revolver, he is 12th at 84%.
There you go.
It's one of the local guys, Rich Alloway. He's like single stack M. He finished 13th this year, and he's kind of like my pace marker. If I want to be like a revolver title winner, I've got to be beating him at locals, which it's crazy. The bar for revolver is like good single stack master.
Do you feel that that format of the small, then medium, then large, did that affect or change any type of strategy, or did that even come into play at all?
I'm not typically thinking on that level myself. I have a very like Steve Anderson take each stage as it is and
Okay.
do that stage as best I can kind of a mindset.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean,
And I'm not sure how many people would actually, because I didn't pick up on it till I was doing a recap of day two. So I don't know how many people would have picked up on that format anyway.
going into like at the end of day one or two, I think it was kind of a topic of discussion. So people knew it was a thing, but again, I think I don't know if it made a difference. Certainly not to me. I couldn't speak for anyone else.
Do you continue with that same Steve Anderson philosophy till the end, or are you one of those people that will look at the practice score competitor app to see what you need to do?
Oh, I had it on my phone this match, but I'll frequently uninstall it before I shoot a major just to remove the temptation to look. Uh, the
Okay.
Yeah, the performance that I'm going to get is the performance that I have earned based on training, and my goal at a match is to put in that performance, not necessarily. The finish order is great too when that pans out, but I don't know if I'd be happier shooting like a second place finish that is exactly on my level of skill or lucking into a first place. But probably lucking into a first place. Let's be real. But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, but I take a lot of satisfaction from living up to the standard that I've set for myself so far.
Now, which of those three zones was your favorite?
I actually liked Zone One. I think the best of the three, and people are down on Zone One because of the like the wooden walled bays and the necessity of having targets all downrange. But I thought those designs, on the whole, I think I liked those the most. There were a couple deeper in the match, like 11 and 21. I think 11, 21, 16. Those had some room to be uh, flowing, which that's one of my like one of the high points of my skill set. I think the being able to move through a stage while shooting without having to post up as much. And this was a very post up match, so having those couple of islands of it were nice.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It's difficult. It's a little hard for me to say again because my memory for stages is very bad, and I typically rely on my video to tell me what the stages were and which ones I liked. It's kind of nice this time because going over the video, there's a tendency to kind of see the things that you saw as flaws in the moment and then amplify those in your head until you take away the wrong lesson. Uh, Now I've got the scores to look at, and I know where the mistakes were in those, but they're less at the fore now because I don't have they're not recorded.
Let's switch over for just a moment and let's talk your ELO ratings. Are you happy with the predictions that were made? Do you think the software is going in the direction you want it to go?
Yes, I think I did a pretty good job this year. I'm gonna on my other screen. I'm going to fire those up, and I'll take a look at the outcomes and results, and I can answer in a little bit more depth then. There are a couple of places. So
Okay.
yeah, in limited, Scott won, and Joey, came in second. I had them the other way around in the predictions, but it was still pretty close, and I'm still, I think, okay with the way that it leaves Joey on top, despite the Nationals' second place, just because of his campaign of domination through all of the area matches this year.
I know it's just software, so it's predicated on how you write the programming for it. But look, Scott shot amazing. I,
Yeah,
I guess my question would be, as great of a shooter as he is that a repeatable performance for him? That's my question. So in this case, with Joey still being first, I don't disagree with the rankings at this point.
yeah. It's
Um,
it's kind of a body of work thing,
right. So
which
I get why. Go ahead.
I was gonna not take anything away from Scott. I mean, he did win two nationals in a row
No.
now. Yeah, yeah. But there's like,
Yeah. I think Nils stole one from him last year.
oh, was it? So it was two years back then. Yeah,
So, but yeah, I mean, look, Scott is a great shooter. So, but it was, and what I'm getting is he dominated that match, like from beginning to end. He was on.
yeah.
So it was a very impressive.
I know. I'm not sure if there was if it was a like a penalty or a malfunction or something on Joey's part. I know he had one stage that, like in the ratings, there's a like a clear dip, and that typically indicates some major disaster of some kind. But I don't know what the story is there exactly.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah, because at the end of day one, I mean, if you looked at Practice Score Competitor app and looked at the points obtainable, maximum points
Mhm.
obtainable, Scott had a 126-point lead on Joey
Yeah,
at the end of day two. So I mean, at that point, it was I don't want to say well out of reach because anything can happen, but he had a huge lead going into day three where it's like, as long as he shot consistent and did well, there wasn't there wasn't going to be an issue with anybody catching him.
uh, well, one of the things that hit Joey's rating is that he shot three alpha and three Mike on the what's it called stage, the Bill Drill stage.
What stage was that, by the way?
That was number five. So what happened was they put a stage five into the same stage as Bay four, and everything after that moved up one number in the like compared to the matchbook.
Okay, I got you. That's why I couldn't figure out. Looking at the matchbook, I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah,
So, all right,
that was the secret.
look at that, and Phil won the bill drill. Wow, that's by 1/100th of a second over KC. Wow,
Yeah, on a drill like that, that's what it comes down to a lot of the time.
there's a lot of fast times. 173. You
Yep,
go, Phil.
that's solid and clean.
Yeah, that's very solid. I'm trying to see where Nils finished out there. I'm gonna have to, just out of curiosity.
I've got him in 86th with
Okay, this is
a
showing
two.
84th, but
Oh
86,
yeah,
84. Yeah.
there
Either
might
way.
be there might be some ties which aren't handled quite the same way. Or actually, I might have the yeah. That's what it is. I've got my score DQs option on for the guys who finished that stage before they disqualified.
Oh, before they got
Yeah,
DQ'd.
yeah,
Okay. Well, and he says he's not a fast shooter like that.
yeah,
So that's impressive that somebody who, again, I mean, we're talking, you look at, I mean, KC, as fast as he was, a 174 on a bill drill, and, he's still looking up in the rankings to Max Leograndis, who is no
yeah,
slouch, but he's never won anything nationally or been in the hunt for anything nationally, pistol wise.
yeah,
So very impressive. Now um, I'm sure you have. I've got your Instagram post up. So
yeah.
before we get to that, I'm going to ask you about, because I did have a question about it, and that was, again, going back to Joey. I get why that ranking is there. I agree with it, but with the women and Carry Optics, I was confused as to why Ashley Robinson is more than 50 points ahead of Morgan Leonhardt when Morgan has been first or second nationally for the last 3 years, the last
Let
three
me
seasons.
in carry optics.
Yep.
In the latest, I have Ashley. substantially below Morgan. I actually have Morgan
Oh, you
at
do.
on top
Okay.
of the the ratings there. Although yeah, well
I wonder what I was
that's
looking at then.
also there. It might have been an older set. She Morgan gained a bunch off of her Area 8 finish. Like she came pretty close, I think, to just winning carry optics there. She was like 92%. So that's like give her like a couple of years, and that's like I think she might have. Oh, that's a stage. Never mind. Yeah, match wise, she was 96%. Yeah, at Area 8.
Okay.
And that's like there are some solid people on that list too. Like there's Chris Sandelsky, Hempel. She actually beat Hempel by a nose. I don't know, by 2%. Never mind.
Well, she's no slouch. I mean, she's a hell
Absolutely,
of a
yeah.
shooter.
You know,
So
it's not. I don't think it's a. It's not like a pandering prediction. I think to say she's probably going to win a major sometime the next year or two. Just like outright win carry optics.
right. Yeah, she was the ladies national champ in
Mm-hmm.
21. So yeah, she's. I mean, her and Justine they go back and forth with
Yeah,
trading places throughout the match. So it's like if it weren't for Max Leo Grandis last year, Justine would have had a PCC
yeah,
overall national championship.
yep.
But that guy's crazy,
Yeah,
crazy
he's
good.
a very tough nut to crack. I think he's got one of the bigger gaps from first to second in like in the Elo ratings.
What is the gap there?
So in the current set, he's got 1898 to 1758. So he's got like 140 or so.
Wow,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a big one.
that's pretty predictive. I know. So Pogge's pretty similar over McGinty. Now after this last nationals, like 1993 to 1845.
And I get that. I mean, that guy he's very dominant in that division.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, 1993 to 1845. That's interesting that the ratings have or maybe I'm just looking at the all right, so I'm looking at your post from a day ago.
Oh, so
And I'm
those
look
the ratings from that post yesterday, the ones that have the one that has the updates, that's just people who competed in handgun
and
nationals.
okay, that's
Yeah,
where that confusion is coming in. Okay. Are you seeing any more tweaks that you may need to do down the road or
there are a couple of things that I'd like to. The big task I think this off season is going to be support for more than one sport. Uh, there's some interest from PCSL for kind of bringing this in as like a first party part of their like classification and rating system. That's kind of exciting.
yeah, that's good. I
Yeah,
like that.
absolutely. Yeah, USPSA is interested too. I had conversations about that at Carry Optics Nationals, and then again just this weekend with Jake and Rick. Um,
Well, and I've gone on the record. I've said publicly, so here I'm doing it again that I think this system should be adopted instead of the top 20 thing they have on the USPSA website. This is much more up to date. It's current. It's the people who are active. We don't
yeah,
need people in the top 20 that haven't shot in a while. You know, I'd like to see let's look at actually who is current. Plus the other thing that I think is your rating system should be used to determine who is on the super squad.
there might be something to that. I think certainly for the Super Squad side, in the sense that like the ratings I publish require participation at masters, at majors rather. That I think is a relatively sensible prerequisite um, for certainly for super squad slots. Maybe for some proportion of open slots too, in place or in addition to some of the like the area match and major match performance slots. I think there might be some room for like rating performance slots as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again,
I
because like participation at majors, that's not a super high bar to clear. I've done a lot of work to try and make sure that the ratings take into account people who don't shoot a ton to get them still accurately placed against their peers.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there are like and maybe you can add a little bit to this, but I feel like June Kim won area 8 in open. And he placed high in I want to say Area 3. And he did very well again at oh shoot, that big match in Texas every year. So he had at least
Dragon's
three
Cup.
majors. Yeah, Dragons Cup. Thank you. So he has at least three majors in Open where he did very well.
Yep.
Would that be enough for someone, do you think, to break into that top 15 to be on a super squad or no?
Yeah. Well, looking at his ratings now, he has 82 stages shot in open, and that gets him to an ELO of 1764, which is ninth. So yeah.
Okay. But I'm wondering if that
Well,
would be the
that's
case minus
so that
nationals.
what was his change from nationals? So let's take a look. That was the last match he
Okay.
shot. So he was up 31. So he would have been, I think, 11th without that, or 10th or 11th.
Okay, so he still would have been on the super squad.
Yeah.
But and that's what I'm getting at is that's the exact point I'm getting at right there is I was like I felt he should have been on the super squad with his performances this year in open because he just switched. He shot all carry optics last year.
Mhm.
January he makes a switch. This is where I think your rating system is even more beneficial because instead of having somebody on who hasn't shot in a year, but because they were whatever last year on the super squad, now they're going to be on it again this year, but they may not be relevant.
Yeah.
I like the idea of replacing the top 20 thing with a current rating system, top 20 in each division, because that's legit,
Yeah.
and then super squad selection.
I do think I always say I like classification because it's a game that you can play nationally without having to go to major matches. You can play the classification game solely at club matches you go to, and there's value in that too. I think, and I'd probably want to keep some kind of classification leaderboard. It's fun to see your name on there, uh, even if like everything except for GM's kind of like a mathematical accident, I guess. It's classification's not a closest without going over game. It's you always want the number to go up. So
Okay.
like just happening to be like a 74.9% B, I guess is like it actually happened to me. I think I was number one on almost every revolver top 20 column from C to GM, and just like
Oh, wow.
it happened to work out that way. I just narrowly missed getting to the next class, and I'd have like a couple of weeks on the top 20 list before the next classifier went in and bumped me.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's kind of it's like a fun little achievement, I guess, in the sense that it's unlikely to happen, but it's not. I don't consider it like a huge achievement in terms of in terms of like the other ones
Accomplishment.
in my career so far. Yeah.
Right. So I take it number 5 is your highest finish at a
Mm-hmm.
national so far?
Well, this
Okay.
is my second nationals, and I jumped four
Okay.
places and about 10% against Pogi. So
Okay. What did you think shooting on the same squad with him?
well, he's a fairly quiet and he's not super talkative on the range, which I get. I'm not super talkative on the range either.
Right.
I said that to Tim Herron. I was like, I was maybe two or three away from shooting, and he said, "You're kind of quieter." So I'm a lot more personal when I'm not shooting.
And that makes sense.
Yep. No, I always like even at matches I work, I kind of pre-apologize to my squad mates. Like I'm not a jerk. I just like I get really focused. So
I was just at the Carolina Classic and they have all RO reset and
yeah.
pasting. And it really changes the dynamic of the squads because I just recorded an episode and posted it with them. And what I was telling them was I noticed that there was actually more conversation going on
Hmm.
because as I said, there's no stress to get back, get your stuff cleaned up, reload your mags, and get out and help resetting the stage. So that is gone. So you get back. I saw people come back, relax, take their time. I saw more people cleaning mags than I've ever seen in my entire life. because they actually had the time, you know?
Yep.
And they were doing all this extra stuff, but they're also talking to people and there's real conversation going on. I'm like, that would be nice if it was at nationals
Yeah.
where
I mean,
you had that time.
I could get behind a staff reset match. I actually went to a staff reset match this year, the low cap classic down at Bluegrass Sportsman's League. Which,
Okay.
if if there's another one, I recommend. If you have any interest at all in like a capacity limited division, go shoot that. If Leif does another one, because it was a great match last year. But yeah, I like I liked it. I also it took some adjustment. I didn't like know what to do with myself in between shooting
Yeah.
that, and they run you through really quick, like in a good like a well put together staff reset match. So if your process is like I'm going to start like get into my headspace when I'm in the hole, it's like well I should probably start when I'm in the deep hole now because that's like it's in the hole to shooting is like 2 minutes at some of these places.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I get that. But you have that time to adjust, to focus, to
Oh
get
yeah.
in the right frame of mind, and then it's done and it's over, and you can relax again. And um, it's a totally different atmosphere. So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed watching the interaction of people in the squads because again, I've never. The next weekend, I was at Virginia State, or no, I sorry, 2 weeks later, I was at Virginia State, completely different atmosphere
Hmm.
because those guys are, getting in the mind to shoot and then they shoot and they come back and they're trying to get their stuff done. They're watching people, they're trying to record stuff and
Yep.
it's just all go and no time to relax and chat.
Absolutely. Yeah. Although I don't do a ton of relaxing on shooting days anyway. I, I find for myself, I feel like there's almost more room for relaxing when I finish shooting early on in the shooting order and know that I have 45 minutes till the next time I'm going to be called to the line to shoot.
Yeah.
With like, so staff reset, when you can get through 10 stages in half a day on like a moderately small squad, there's it's a very high pace.
Yeah, and that's what they did on Saturday. There was a morning session and an afternoon session. But even then I saw those people chatting and talking. Not everybody, but I did see more of it than I would normally see at a regular match that wasn't staff reset. So it was
Yeah.
very, very interesting. I actually liked it. But I also said that I could see where if you're a quiet person, you're there from out of town by yourself, you don't really know anybody, it could be a little bit boring because you're not really going to socialize as much as everybody else.
Yeah.
And this is where maybe resetting would be nice because it gives you something to do,
Yeah.
but that's the only downside I could find.
I do like the half day schedule on the basis that it like there's time for socializing afterward. And so one of
Okay.
the things the Low Cap Classic did was Friday staff match, I believe, Saturday AM and PM competitor squads, and then a dinner at the end.
Oh, okay.
And
On Saturday.
yeah, yeah. So getting most people who shot the match ended up coming to the dinner because if you're unless you're finishing on Saturday morning and want to hit the road early, you're pretty much going to need to stay the night anyway, unless you're local. And if you're local, you might as well just go to dinner.
Sure.
So yeah, it was a pretty well attended thing, and I got to meet a couple of cool people that I had only formerly known online.
Now, did they have any shooting on Sunday or was it just Saturday?
It was Saturday only. I believe they left the stages up and shot a local on the same stages on Sunday, and people who stayed helped
Mm,
tear down and got like a second crack at them for cheaper.
okay. Hmm. I like the dinner at the end. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a nice social event there.
and it is challenging to do unless you have a schedule that has everybody on the range on the final day.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing with nationals. If you shot it all in one day and then you say you shot it on Friday and dinner was on Sunday, you might not stick around.
All right. So you said that I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm gonna pose something to you. I created a whole. I'll have to send it to you. Actually, I don't know why I didn't think to send it to you before, but I sent an entire. I created an entire document and turned nationals into IPSC World Shoot,
Hmm.
where Everybody goes and competes at one time,
Yep.
Monday through Friday. You shoot 4 days. You have one day off, and there's like 760 shooters or something like that,
Yeah.
competitors, not including staff. So, what are your thoughts on something like that where Friday evening you have a big event? You've got all the shooters nationwide, everybody shooting all the different divisions there, all of them.
Yeah.
Is that something that would interest you?
It could actually. So one of the big difficulties with doing staff reset at nationals is that the nationals staff package is a lot more generous than staff packages at most majors. So I live within driving distance of Cardinal. So when I worked Carry Optics, I didn't max out the travel allowance. They paid mileage and then my tolls on the Ohio Turnpike to get over there. Um,
Okay.
the the cost to have me work that match was probably around $1,300.
Okay.
And yeah, I know from like Keanu Sai, I was talking to him sometime when this came up, and his cost per RO at the Maryland State match, I think, was like $400. So just because the travel allowance is higher, there are more nights in a hotel, and the staff package is generally more generous. Uh, Headquarters pays a lot more per RO, and that makes sense. I think on the basis of trying to bring in the best staff in the country, um, or at least to provide a package enticing enough to get them to come. Uh, so the difficulty then with staff research nationals is if you have 3 or 4 matches and you need an extra 2 ROs, 1 or 2 ROs per stage to reset the stage, that's actually a pretty big investment over 20 stages. You're
Right.
talking like an extra $40,000 or $50,000 of staff for that. Now, if you're doing just 1 week long event, that might make it a little easier because you don't need to duplicate staff as much.
Well, and what I had was for per diem, I went with $1,500 a person.
Yeah, I think that's in keeping with what it costs, with what the
Okay.
like the package costs. If you just gave it in cash, that lets people, I think, make their own choices a little bit better. But there are also perks to having like the hotel all figured out for you, and they might get a discount on rates or something, booking like the
Right.
entire thing all at once. Yeah. So the other concern I have about that is where you put the staff match. You probably need like a couple of days prior, like I don't know, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to make
Correct.
yeah, like a 24 stage match, like six stops on 4 days each. Yeah, like 8 on 3. That's doable. And I guess yeah. So the time commitment there is not too bad, especially for folks who are traveling to multiple nationals to work them anyway. Which again is
Correct.
that's a fair number, like a fair amount of the RO core does that.
And I imagine that if you're like in your case, you helped out with Carry Optics Nationals. If you didn't have to drive, you're flying in how many days? Now you didn't shoot it, correct?
I shot Carry Optics too. Yeah.
Okay, so how many days did you spend at Carry Optics Nationals?
So I left home on on Wednesday. No, I left home on Tuesday because we shot Wednesday, Thursday, uh,
Okay.
then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And actually, I probably would have stayed to Monday, but the weather was nice, and one of my co-ROs gave me 3 monsters to take in the car and drive home after awards. That so I might be building it up in my mind, but the experience of driving on like an empty Ohio highway, halfway into that
Uh,
second monster, like an hour and a half toward home, it's like man, either like so like I might be exaggerating this in hindsight, but my memory was like man, I am aware of the entire universe right now.
oh, that's hysterical. I love it. Oh, so you would have spent at least what 5 or 6 days at one nationals. Then you went to another one,
Yeah,
this past
yeah.
one.
So
With And
Yeah, I was at nationals for 11 or 12 days this year. So just going to one, even working it, and then shooting it, it'd be less of an investment.
yeah, and I think it's about 8 days. If you're ROing, it would be about 8 days is what you would need.
Yeah.
But it would be one time. So you'd actually, in the long run, you'd save a few days of vacation. Or actually, it wouldn't even be because you have a Saturday Sunday in there, so
Yeah.
that wouldn't necessarily count in. But so we'll say at least 6 days of work, maybe
Hmm.
seven.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we'll
and
say a full 7 days.
well, yeah, you one day off to get there ahead of time to look at stages, 3 days of shooting, one of which is a work day, and then the next week. But then you've got a weekend to travel home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that's a pretty good
Yeah,
idea.
exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, I love the idea of, and I figured it out where it was, and I think it was how many? Like I can't even find my own totals. 720 competitors.
Yeah.
600 of them paying. I just estimated. I said just take off 120 for sponsors, all that
Yeah.
nonsense.
So
Um,
staff, let's see, we had 20 stages, probably like an average of 3.5. So well, like probably 70 or so ROs at this. If you wanted to do staff reset, probably add another 25 more, maybe 35 more for the big stages, and then some for sponsors. Yeah, but like in that 600 kind of range.
okay, I feel like you could do a small stage, 15 rounds and under, and small, not defined by USPSA
But
rules.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
but
But if
small,
you're,
like physically small.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
If you're 18 rounds and under, you could probably get away with three ROs.
yeah, that can be pretty quick to reset.
Yeah, the bigger ones four at a minimum, but if you have tape guns, paster guns, that type of stuff, zip, 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 right? The hardest thing would be the resetting of whatever activators and movers you had. But other than that, it would go pretty quick. So those maybe you give a fifth, but you could take like if you calculated four for every stage, but you had some really big stages,
Hmm.
like you would have in zone 3 this year, then
Yeah,
you go to the smaller ones
and
and
take a guy or two.
steal an
Yeah,
RO. Yeah. And now, okay, this stage now has five. This one has three.
I'd probably
Probably
want to go
work out
like
pretty good
count about 4.5 per per stage,
per
just
stage.
for excess. It's nice, especially like on the big stages. If you're even if you got five guys, you might like six would let somebody take a break. It's a lot of walking setting one of those.
Yeah. I mean, I could even see where maybe you calculated at four, but you have maybe a couple of extra or 2 to 3 spare ROs per zone. So if you
Yeah.
needed to send someone down, and they can rotate in and out with other people. So I
Mhm.
guess there would be ways to do it. I've never RO'd, so that could be figured out. But I really like the idea of one big nationals, turn it into a big event like World Shoot
Yeah.
style. Make it a thing, make it something where it's big. You actually have a real awards banquet at the end, and
Yeah.
and really nice setup.
I think there's absolutely room for that. It does get into the like then slot distribution gets I think more important, making sure that the system for that is ironclad
Yes,
and
yes, agree.
ratings are good for that. If there's going to be open registration, I think the experience of Carry Optics this year tells me that should be like a lottery. So you put your name in for an open registration slot, and they pick them at random. If there are enough for everybody who wants one, everyone gets one. Otherwise, you have as much chance as the next guy.
Yep.
Yeah,
And, and
and if you want the guaranteed slot, you can volunteer to work the match too.
there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which so sorry, I keep on like having
No, you go right
one
ahead.
one
You're the
additional
guest. Go
thought
ahead.
as I say these. So this this came up like I think in a email thread with Ben Barry or something. That the difficulty there is if you have somebody who wants to work the match but still get an honest idea of their abilities, then you have like you run the risk of like you've got the kind of the staff day penalty, and like from
Hmm.
having to reset for yourself and RO for yourself and so
Yes,
forth.
correct.
Um, so there is that drawback. Like people who are there to shoot it for fun. more than anything else. That's okay. People who want to evaluate themselves more honestly might have an issue there, and that might take some ROs from you, especially if it's like the only nationals of the year. One thing I thought of, if you're going
Okay.
to do like a back to back nationals event, you have the like if you work one, you get a staff slot to the other one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
So like you'd work the
So
handgun
so
nationals
like
and
for
get a slot to
you,
carry optics.
if it was open PCC back to back with iron sights, then
Hmm.
you could work open PCC and get a slot
And yeah,
for
yeah,
uh,
and shoot
iron sight. I
right and
gotcha.
shoot iron sights as a competitor,
Hmm.
and that kind of removes the need to have a staff match too, because if like the staff just gets to shoot the other match.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
there may be some combination of these ideas that works. I do
Right.
like the one big event thing.
Yeah, I definitely do. I would love to see that happen. I don't know how long it would take to figure it all out, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean it's the kind of thing that has been done before at least. So there are resources on how to make it work.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are ranges out there that can do it.
Hmm.
So
I understand CMP is expanding, aren't they? They're putting in another section of bays.
yeah, when I had Kyle Stevens on, he was telling me that it's. Do you remember that indoor restroom right there by the parking lot where you would park for all the different practical shooting bays?
Yeah.
It's right. They're going over there in an H style.
Oh, interesting.
So it'd be like one bay, two bay, three bays, and then there's a road leading up to those three, and then
Yep.
it branches off, and two bays facing outboard.
Ah, okay.
So you would walk up, and it'd be like so almost like a horseshoe in a way.
Yeah.
But the way he drew it, it looked like an H. But you'd have a bay, and then in front of you would be three bays.
Yeah.
So like an extra five bays, which is, I mean, really all they need.
Yeah, and they had but like 18, I think, before. Now you got 23. That gives you room for a vendor bay, like a bay for all your supplies and such, and then 21
Yeah.
stops.
Yep. So you would have room for everybody at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So that would work out well.
Yeah, like a 5 stop 20 stage 4 day match for again our hypothetical mega nationals.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
And it would work out perfect. Five stages. So you wouldn't even have to shoot all that many stages in one day.
yeah,
And then so it wouldn't be that difficult necessarily for it to finish in a morning or an afternoon session. So if you're staff and you're only resetting for five squads coming through, well, that's not that hard,
yeah. I mean, I think
you know.
they'd probably if you do it with like a 5 stops, you'd have the opportunity, I think, to do a morning and an afternoon relay, and that is harder on the staff, but it's also again you're kind of limited just on the number of squads you can have by the number of stops per zone. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but you've got to break in there. So between
yeah,
the morning and
morning.
afternoon session, so people can refresh,
Yeah, nice an hour and a
go to the
half to take a
bathroom.
load off. Yeah,
Yeah, literally.
yeah,
Lunch does that to people.
yeah. It's
All
typically
right.
coffee for me. That's my.
Uh, all right. Now you're not just shooting USPSA revolver. You're shooting other stuff revolver.
Yep.
So you shot ICOR, and what were your thoughts on that when you shot it?
So yeah, it's my second I-Core match ever. I guess was the East Coast Regional last month, and I shot the 2022 I-Core International Revolver Championship as well. And so it's a very interesting sport. You'll have field courses that look very much like a USPSA, like you'd see at a USPSA match, except with the NRA tombstone targets instead. But you'll
Mm-hmm.
also have stages like color coded steel, shoot them in order. The East Coast Regional had one where you picked a like a spray paint can with a color on top, and that was the color of target you shot first. So you had to go through the stage and shoot all the blue ones, then shoot all the red ones on the way back out.
Okay.
So like the stage design rules are a little bit looser there, and they allow for a little bit more zaniness. I think is the word I'd use to describe it, and that can be. I think that's a fun change of pace. Um, USPSA is very like serious business. We're going to be a serious sport and have totally consistent and occasionally somewhat bland courses of fire. And I course like, nah, we're gonna do some fun stuff here too.
We're gonna mix it all up.
Exactly, yeah. So they also have frequently they'll have all steel stages. So you've got like your 10-inch plates that are one per, and your big steel challenge refrigerator plates that are two per. And
Oh,
yeah, so it's a points down sport. So 1 second for every hit outside of the I guess outside of the 10 ring on that NRA target. Um,
okay.
but then so you spend all this time aiming at like a little 8-inch circle like you do in IDPA. Then you get onto one of those stages, and like I can let it rip now, like on this steel.
Like you're at Steel Challenge.
Yeah, exactly. It's a 10-inch plate at 10 yards. That's a really easy shot,
Nice. Now, what
and
were
it
your
tells me if I need
thoughts?
to make up too.
What were your thoughts about shooting at a bullseye target?
So it's not bad. The NRA D1, it's the Bianchi Cup target. So the circles are pretty big. Uh, the nice thing about it is it's not shaped like a silhouette or an octagon, so it's easy to train myself to shoot at points down pace at that target because it's differently shaped. Kind of like I shoot at steel more deliberately than I do at paper.
Okay.
Yes, like
Hmm.
the tombstone just kind of gets me to I should shoot this to make sure I get those hits in the middle.
Okay. How well did you do?
At the East Coast Regional, I won overall by like 30 seconds.
By 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm sure when you left, they didn't invite you back.
Well, it's the revolver community is very friendly. I'm like
Okay.
I'm in that I'm known to be in that echelon now. I think
Okay.
that they're actually there. That was at Ontolani Rod and Gun Club out in Eastern PA.
Oh, it
Frequent
was.
host, yeah, frequent host of Area 8. They're actually so next year they're hosting the International Revolver Championship there. So very convenient for me.
I assume you're shooting it then.
Yep.
All right. Wow. Any chance you'll shoot Bianchi?
Maybe that it's a very specialized scale, Bianchi, and
It is.
so I'm oftentimes I'm Steve Anderson's favorite kind of shooter, which is to say fast but sloppy, and the the joy of Bianchi, like the thing that makes it so interesting is that the question is not are you perfect or not to determine who wins. It's how perfect are you, and I suspect I might have a little bit of difficulty changing into that gear.
You think so?
Maybe I'd be curious to try it, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very specialized gun too. If you're going to do it like with winning in mind, and
I
yeah,
agree. I'm not a fan of. It's kind of like open guns. Open guns
mhm,
are amazing, but I'm not a fan of having to use something so specialized. Like
yeah,
I've gone out and shot carry optics with my literal carry gun. You know
yeah,
what I mean? I like that being able to. If my eyes didn't need reading glasses, then I would probably shoot some occasional production or
yeah.
limited. But I'm not doing that anymore. But that's the only thing about Bianchi I don't like. But I do like. I think anytime you add a different ingredient to shooting,
Hmm.
the long distance, pressing against the wall,
Yeah,
trying to be precise, prone. Even shooting the prone in Bianchi, I've seen some prone shooting in USPSA. That's a direct translation. You
yeah.
know what I mean? And you can be sloppy in USPSA, whereas you can't be sloppy in
It's
Bianchi.
true.
That,
There's
that's going to be a bad ending.
yeah, but yeah,
There is one thing. There is
it
one
is.
thing I,
Oh,
I
sorry.
love about Bianchi that I would love to see, and that's that moving target.
Oh yeah, that's a good time. The Bianchi optic mounts with like the preset click for the moving
Oh
target.
yeah,
I find that's a very amusing innovation to me. It's like it makes perfect sense.
It
we
does.
delete it by this much. So I'll just set my op to do that for me. But yeah, I know. So next year's Area 8, Greater Pittsburgh Gun Club is going to be hosting that. And they have a guy who is uh, a very clever, like, fabricator of metal goods. So they've been working on a bunch of really interesting moving targets. So I think there may be some chance of a good slider there next year.
And there's been some like sneak release videos of those things that I've seen.
Yes. Yep.
So those are definitely now that would make me want to go shoot Area 8 in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they have a sliding swinger, which is exciting.
Yes and
Just
no. Yep.
there's a word for it. I mean, it's exciting in many senses of the term.
Yeah.
They have a like it's like a U-shaped track that a pair like a little cart runs on it. It's got a pair of plates on it. But sadly,
Yep.
that's not legal at level threes anymore because plates are off the table.
Oh,
Yeah,
mini poppers.
yeah. I mean, you could probably make it work that way. I don't think there are any rules against like a moving mini popper.
Man, how great would that be?
That'd be amazing.
It would be amazing. Look, this is Jay. Here's how I feel about it. Look, I'm a B class shooter. I haven't been shooting that long. I haven't put that much time into it. As soon as I started hitting A class classifiers. I started shooting them. My entire work schedule changed, and
Mm,
my ability to compete went way down. So, and I'm not complaining. I'm just stating this is what's happened. But if you're a super squad level guy, then I don't want these chintzy ass stages that anybody can go and shoot. I don't. So nationals for me, in my, I've shot competitions since 1986, whether it be rifle, pistol, whatever. They should be challenging.
mm,
They should be setting these stages up like they said this is the most difficult match ever. Well, I like that because that's how you separate the men from the boys at the top of the order.
yeah. I
So
said almost that exactly. Walking stages, like, well, I could do it this way, or I could man up and shoot it like the brave way.
I will be the last of the Mohicans.
Yeah.
But that's how I look at it. It's like set this thing up for the top 20, top 30 guys in the nation. And the rest of us will just shoot it and go, oh, damn, I didn't do very well.
Yeah. So
But
I might disagree with you. Maybe not maybe not in total, but possibly in magnitude. Uh,
okay.
so yeah. So on that stage 18 I told you about earlier with all the 20-yard plus targets.
Is this confession time?
Well, so it's not. It's a conversation, a very brief conversation I had. I told you also
Okay.
that Pogi, he's not a very talkative guy on the range. So
Right.
we were walking back like side by side from pasting something down there, and just out of the blue, unprompted, he says, "You know, this would have been a really great match if they just moved everything 6 or 8 yards closer."
And this is the
Yeah,
guy who won.
yeah, exactly. So I think there's plenty of room to build stages that the B class guy can get all those hits on, and it still separates the like the top guys adequately. I do appreciate the fact that there are some accuracy challenges that I didn't do super great on them this year, but uh, knowing that I can A, and knowing that it's a place where I can improve B, those I think are both valuable things that you learn or that you gain from having a stage like that. Um, I think it's possible to make the difficulty a little bit one note if it's all trigger pulling skills.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so for me, I might have put in one or two, or I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 more like proper burners, because there is some room, especially like as those courses get longer. The economy and efficiency that the top guys can obtain, that'll still separate them. Like you watch Siler shoot, and the way he does it is he just never stops moving. He's not splitting super
Yep.
fast, but he's done it in like 20 seconds, and there's a shot going off like every 4/10 of a second to get there.
Yeah. But and I will say this though about Christian, he is an outlier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you put him in your ranking system, he's a freaking outlier. because even most of the top guys can't shoot like he can shoot.
Yeah.
So I would never use him as the
Right.
litmus test.
Not as a
But
litmus test, but like that's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of the, I guess, the canonical example of what I'm talking about here. In that, like
No,
you can absolutely build a stage that'll test him that the
I
B class guy can still
100%
shoot. Yeah.
agree. I 100% agree. And I think there's that fine line in there where you can say, okay, you can create those stages where you can create areas of movement for people in that top 20, 25%, or top 20, 25, that can shoot and move and do things. And but still it's going to test them to a point where, okay, Nils can do it this fast, somebody
Yeah.
else can do it this fast, someone else does it this fast, you know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah.
will still rank them. So yeah,
Exactly.
I'm not saying something so difficult that the B class guys can't do it. I'm just saying they're going to do it slower because they are not going to have that ability to do it as quickly on the move as the top level
Yeah.
guys. But I want something that, other than just standing and shooting because of the difficulty of the shots, I want
Yeah.
something where it's like Christian even said, his whole goal at Carry Optics was keep moving regardless. And there
Yeah.
were people who said Christian was the only one moving,
Yeah.
because he's just that good. So
Goals.
yeah, yeah, I think that's everybody's goal.
Yeah.
The guy is very, very. He's a. I said he's the next. You had Rob Latham,
Hmm.
then you have Nils Jonassen next, and I'm just saying dominant wise.
Yeah.
The next one is Christian Seiler.
Yep.
He's the next generation of person you have to put into that GOAT conversation because he's just going to be that dominant. Whatever division he goes into, he's going to win
Yeah.
as of right now. So it's that's a whole different animal. I mean, he's like he. I think for me, I never have really witnessed Eric Graffel because I got into the sport so late. But if I had to go back and compare him to somebody, I would probably compare him to him or Rob,
Yeah.
one of the two, because he is at that level and he's only what, 22, 21,
Yeah. He's still like
or 22,
or
23. I mean,
early 20s.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I know.
yeah. He's got a long time ahead of him.
Watching Rob Latham shoot, that was pretty cool. I mean, that he's still like burning things down.
Was he on your squad?
Yep.
Dude,
Yeah.
that
So
had to be impressive.
it was. So we had the top six, and then the guys below Garen on the revolver half, and then we had Elias and Caesar and Rob Latham, John Vlieger on the single stack side.
Okay,
Tim Herron, a couple of others, I think maybe.
nice.
Yeah, so it was
That's
tough.
actually a nice. Yeah, that's a great super squad.
Yeah, so
Wow.
not just
Okay.
seeing like the top end revolver stuff, but also some top end single stack performance too.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, and
it's a semi-auto revolver.
yeah. Well, so this was the one. What's his name? Tim and Caesar were both shooting minor, which again, I think this is a match where that was probably more a favored choice than a lot of nationals have been.
Those extra rounds, yeah. And
Yep.
Tim had moved up to 6 right towards the end, and then something happened, and he dropped back to ninth.
Yeah, he had a pair of misses on the last stage as well,
Okay.
which yeah, that was heartbreaking because he had shot a clean match up to that point. Those were his
Oh,
only two penalties of the entire thing. Yeah,
wow, man. Yeah, they hurt too.
yeah,
So wow. Well, that's still a good showing. I mean, oh, I'm sure he's kicking himself though.
yeah.
But
There's a fair bit of that certainly on the Super Squad for that stage. I mean, I'm pleased with my performance there, but I
okay.
lucked out and shot just before it started to rain. Like the drizzle beginning to come down, and like I'd better hurry through my make ready on this because I don't want to be like I don't want to downpour in the middle of my stage. That'd be a rough time. But
Right.
yeah,
Wow.
it's to roll back one topic briefly. I think philosophically, as far as stage design goes, I like the idea of long courses testing more than one scale. Like a good medium course or a short course, you can get away with just testing one thing because there's not a ton of shooting to do relative to like the length the stage is allowed to be. But if you've got like your full on long course, I think at that point that's when you should start. You shouldn't be one note anymore. You should have a couple of different things that stage is testing.
Okay. And you could, I mean, you could test movement. You can test a lot of things, like you said, in a long course. So okay.
Yeah.
Now the next topic I want to talk about is what we were talking about right, or asked you about right before we started,
Oh yeah.
and you had even posted that you had been talked into shooting IPSC championship or
Yeah.
nationals. So what was that conversation, and how long did it take them to talk you into it?
So the almost verbatim, this is how it went. Talking with Alex back into the awards dinner, and he said, "Had you thought about ever going to a world shoot?" And I said, "I might if the opportunity came up." And he said, "Might or would?" And I said, "Well, would." And he said, "That didn't take long." I'm like, "Well, I thought about it beforehand." So like, yeah, I mean, if there's a team going, I'd 100% love to go on a team.
That would be cool.
Individually, I mean, 2025 is a long way off, so I've got time to build up to the point where I could challenge for that as well. But I know there are like another couple of good revolver guys shooting IPSC nationals. Like Poggy's going to be there back in Wolf, Vincent Gunther.
Okay.
So they're like
So
I don't know what's required to have a team recognized by USPSA, but so I think we have in the US. I think we have more revolver depth than anywhere else in the world. I mean, there are guys internationally who can hang close to Poggy, but I don't think there's any other country where you've got three other guys who can be like 90% plus of him.
and that's what, five out of the top six.
I
Everybody you
think
just
it's
mentioned.
yeah. I don't know if McGinty's interested, but other than that, that's the
Right.
top five finishers
Right.
at nationals.
And that's in Florida, right?
Yeah, the IPSC nationals is like the Volusia County Rod and Gun Club range,
Okay.
or just maybe just gun club, but they had the IRC there last year, so that it's like
Okay.
Manny Bragg and Gorka Ibanez. They put on a good show then, and I expect a good show now too.
Are you going to have many changes to your equipment? I don't know what the differences are between IPSC and USPSA for revolver. Are you going to have many changes there?
I Probably zero. It depends on exactly how they interpret the distance from the belt rule. Um,
Okay.
so theirs is 2 inches to the center line of the loading device, but I have no idea like how they would measure the center line of the like of a moon clip, like whether that's to the center of the nearest bullet or to the center of the entire thing, or like the center. So if I
Mm.
had one handy, I could show you, but I don't think I do. Well, here I've got a coffee mug. And a coffee mug is shaped kind of like a moon clip. So
Right.
if you've got a moon clip kind of like tilting out from your belt, like I have mine, whether they mean like crosswise, like measured parallel to my stomach, or if they mean like yeah, perpendicular to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. Huh.
So ideally zero changes. That'd be the goal. But I make moon clip carriers and I sell those too. I have I've got like a special shorter version of like the base that will bring the clips in closer and definitely make them IPSC legal if I have to.
Okay. All right. So you looking forward to that?
I am. So among other things, I mentioned flowing field courses is one of my strengths. Short courses I also usually do really well on. The shorter the stage, provided it's not like a build drill, say, the better I do, I think, relative to my peak performance potential. And IPSC has a lot of short stages. So
Yeah, they do the whole 3-2-1. So,
yep,
uh,
I think
so
that's
would
how
you
they
say
plan.
you're? Go ahead.
I think that's how they plan to get us through 18 stages in one day for the all day Friday schedule.
You're shooting 18 stages in one day.
Yep. Well, so it's going to be three long courses, six medium courses, and nine short courses. So it should hopefully go pretty quick.
Yeah, it's still 18 stages.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay, that's a lot of stages in one day.
it is a lot of stages in
Wow.
one day. Happily, almost everybody else in the like all the other revolver guys are also mostly shooting the 1 day schedule. So I'm not disadvantaged there by dint of only having registered literally 2 nights ago.
Okay. But you're on a. I guess you guys are all on different state or squads.
So a lot of the top revolver guys register early enough to get on the same one. I think a squad or two away from them, and then Vincent is shooting a 2 day schedule over the weekend. I think
Okay. Who was it that talked you into going?
it was Alex Becken. He I think he's interested in maybe getting like a world shoot contingent together too, and that'd be pretty cool.
Okay.
I mentioned on the last episode I was on that my wife is actually like a big driver in getting me into the sport more seriously, which is
You
almost like
did, yeah.
that's almost a unique situation. I feel like in the shooting
Yes.
sports world, and so in this case, when when I was talking to Alex, I went outside and had a brief phone call with my wife and said, "So, what do you think about me having like I'm interested in getting on like like a world shoot slot for 2025. So I'd have to shoot another match this year to like get the qualification process going." And she was like, "World shoot, like competing internationally, that'd be pretty cool." So I go, "Okay, I guess I'll register for that." I said, "Yeah, it'd be in 2025 in South Africa," and then she'd like, "I've never been to Africa," so so it was like literally, I didn't have to talk her into it in the slightest. She just like, "Yeah, go do it, make it happen."
You guys going to be listening to Toto a lot in 2025
Yeah, yeah,
in preparation.
yeah.
Every time you drive fire, Toto going on in the
Yeah.
back.
There's a thought. Get me in the mood.
Yeah. They seem to have a lot of movers and
Yeah.
things like that. So that'll be interesting.
Well, I've got dry fire swingers. I've got keys to the prop shack at the club where I run matches, and yeah, movers are less intimidating now than they used to be.
Yeah, I actually enjoy them. I don't think they're difficult at all. So
I love bobbers, swingers. I still like. I need more time on those at different ranges to get a good sense for the lead.
okay.
Yeah.
Any is that your last match of the year then?
Yeah, it should be. I don't think nothing else planned over the no other majors certainly. I have a Beretta 92X that is currently an open gun configuration. You know, like the gun almost good enough for JJ to win, and and
Wow.
yeah. So I may shoot that once or twice over the winter. I may shoot it at the Halloween match at my club, but given that I'm now shooting another revolver major, I might just stick with the wheel gun for another month.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when does your season start back up next year?
That depends. I just again for like the world shoot slot options, I'd like to try and make it to the springtime IPSC nationals, which I believe are out in Arizona. But I'm told by people in the know that that might be a hard match to get slots to because there's not like an advertising requirement, so it might fill up with Arizona locals before it trickles out to the wider world.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't have anyone who can get me a sponsor slot at the moment. So
Hint, hint.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm open to it. I'm a very good shill. If you want me
Oh, that's funny.
yeah.
There was I almost forgot, and thank God you said JJ because I just updated the software today. I downloaded the newest version
Mhm.
and I saw the 6.5.3. You said it was the um, JJ rule,
Yeah.
the Rakaza rule. What is that
Yep.
about?
So he had some gun issues at Open Nationals, and
Mhm.
so he had a couple of really slow stages. I think a DNF maybe as well. So my goal with the rating system is to try and eliminate gun problems from the equation because those do matter to a point. But if you shoot like 2 shots on a 30 round field course, I can't make realistic inferences about your skill based on that, right?
Right.
Because
A
yeah,
zero. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. So
Yeah.
there's already something in there. There are a couple of features in there that are designed to do that. This one just tries to find stage zeros and like stage DNFs rather. Like you start a stage and don't finish it,
Okay.
and it'll reduce or eliminate those from impacting your rating for the purposes of trying to keep it as honest as I can.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually it's not the first rule named after a shooter. Um, yeah, I've got there's a I think I don't recall which Williams sister it was, but one of them went sub minor, and I wasn't handling that correctly in the ratings. So I called that one. Yeah, I
Oh,
called that one as either the Justin or the J. Williams rule for making sure you don't get penalized for going sub minor to major.
okay. Wow.
Yeah,
I like
and,
these rule names.
and
They're
I think
good.
I think there are a couple of other ones in there too, but I don't recall them offhand.
All right.
Yeah, I think those are the famous ones. There are some other ones that are like people who came up. Oh, we do always joke. I and the people who kind of help me like with evaluating how good the ratings are looking about like trying to make there are shooters who run around and shoot all kinds of major matches against relatively soft competition, and like that, I'm kind of one of those. There's not a ton of revolver action outside of nationals.
Right.
But Tim Herron's in that list too. So we always like, so how's this rating Tim Herron? Is he way above like the next guy in single stack? And there's probably something wrong. So sorry, Tim. I mean he's a very good shooter, but
Oh
he's
yeah.
not like he shouldn't be like 400 points off the top of the single stack ratings either. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. I get it.
and that was it's the Tim Herron rule / the Nick Reynolds rule because we also evaluated on local match data sets for a while, and Nick obviously is far and away the best limited shooter in like Eastern PA, Northeastern Virginia, that kind of area. So he'd beat up on like the beginners with their carry guns, with their iron sight carry guns, and then would end up stratospherically rated for a while. But most of that's figured out now, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's just tweaking it.
Yep.
All
And I
right.
guess now, as we get into the off season, figuring out how to handle multiple sports and what ways say PCSL could use to make it a proper national rating system.
Now PCSL is hit factor as well, isn't it?
Yes,
That's right.
that makes the transition pretty easy.
Yeah,
But
that's what I
if I'm
figured.
going if I'm going to the trouble of making it multi-sport, my goal at this point is now just to make it kind of a generalized shooting sports tool.
Because
So
I know when we had messaged earlier, I had asked about IDPA, and you said you didn't have anything set up for that because it's time, not
yeah,
hit factor. So is that still a goal then as well? As
yeah. So basically, what I'll be able to do when I finish this kind of big core rewrite is to rate any any shooting sport, I guess, that you can you can assign people a place and a percentage in.
Okay.
Yeah, so like not just IDPA and PCSL, but like sporting clays if you wanted to.
Wow.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes if I attain those lofty goals. But that's the direction I'm heading right now.
All right.
Plus, I can stop using USPSA's trademark of USPSA in the name at that point, and they might appreciate that, which they've been nice enough not to tell me to stop already. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I get it. So I wouldn't see why they would need to, but I get where they
well,
could.
yeah, especially once I start getting into like adding sport for say other leagues, I'll do the renaming at that point. I think like shooting sports analyst or something.
I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty punchy.
Well,
Good
Jay,
names are
yeah, go ahead.
I was like good names are hard to come by.
Yes, they are. You got to find those catchy ones. You may have to
Absolutely.
enlist Steve Anderson.
Yeah, he's got a talent for that for sure.
He does. He definitely does. He's got those catchy sayings. So, well, Jay, I appreciate you coming on again. This has been an awesome conversation, and I hope we do it again.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.